much for coming. I haven't done a public live Q&A before, so I think this is going to be super fun. Thank you for everyone who sent in questions ahead of time. So here we are. The first question that was sent in was from Sarah. I'm launching a new one-to-one month-to-month coaching container for my business, Dopamuse, which I plan to eventually fold into a larger system. I want to use this offer to refine the process with clients. I've mostly worked one-to-one in the past and have only launched too many offers in this new business so far. Would you recommend launching this as an evergreen offer or with a cohort style start date to build urgency and momentum? I have an audience from my previous business, but haven't built sales traction yet. And so I'm wondering what structure would best support early growth and interest. And let me paste this in the chat for those of you who like to read along. Okay, so I highly recommend starting with either either just going straight for cohort for the first time and you can turn that into evergreen later, or having some reason for people to join now. Because of that one word you said, momentum, it's going to feel so good for yourself and actually have a bunch of people joining and starting at the same time versus being like a few people trickling in month after month. And yes, it'll build to something beautiful, but to have a nice group to start off with, I think you're going to either start with launching cohort. That's what I would do if I were you. I would launch as a cohort, or just make sure you have either lower super epic founders pricing or start early bird pricing that would encourage people to jump into the at the beginning. Because most people, when they haven't done a group, it sounds like you have done, oh, maybe you haven't done group programs before, but a lot of people's first or biggest fear when they're launching their first group program is like, what if not zero people join? What if one person joins? It's fine if no one joins. I don't have to deal with that. But what if only one person joins? Then I have to follow through or cancel it or have that conversation. So I think you're gonna have the results that you want if you launch as a cohort to start, and you can change it into whatever you like in the future. Okay, so we have Jillian's question next, and I'll put that in the chat. In Radical Riches, you talked about choosing your cause now and committing to it and taking small steps towards supporting it the way you dream of. Do you feel like the cause you choose, the vision, should work its way into your branding or messaging, or how you share about yourself from a visibility perspective? How do you think is the best way to start doing that or exploring what they would look like in our business? I don't think that's needed at all. If you're called to it and it excites you to talk about it in relation to your business, definitely go for it. But I have it the way that I personally do it is I have it as it's connected with my business, but it's not something that I'm always pointing to this thing. I'm always pointing to this thing. Of course, I have like my value statement post pinned on my Instagram, but and I'm pointing to this is what we're doing over here, but it's not something that I'm referring back to all the time. If it excites you, if it inspires you to create something that's more integrated with the cause that you want to do, then amazing. But usually it's something that's there and this present guiding force in your business, but not something that you're always connecting in. But that being said, I think there's an opportunity here with vision casting and world building. So I know you're in the regenerative business ecosystem, so you have access to copywriting alchemy. That the world building section of copywriting alchemy, I think ties really well with and funneling money into the change that we want to make in the world, because we can actually be calling forward people with aligned values and being like, this is what this business is doing. This is what I'm trying to create in the world through this business. And that connection will call aligned people towards you so much faster. Okay, Chia, right there. And feel if you're on live with us, feel free if you have follow-up questions, you can put them in the chat and I'll try and notice them. Okay, Chia, curious on how you first got started before it became a whole system. What did you do first with zero audience to gain visibility/reach? I love this question. My business has had so many iterations. Like truly, I started in my early 20s and have always been self-employed. My dad died when I was 19, and I also read the 4-Hour Work Week when I was 19. So I had this like person. First of all, I didn't believe that I was dealing with like serious mental health issues, and also didn't want a job that wasn't remote. And this was like super pre-COVID times. This is like not a thing. And like back in 2011. And so I jumped into freelancing right out of college. I was doing freelance admin and freelance marketing. And I just pitched a company that I wanted to work with online, an author who talked about detox and veganism, because that's what I was into at the time. And from there, I just kept starting to work with other businesses that I thought were cool and either word of mouth or directly reaching out to companies that I thought were cool. And because I was in my early 20s, I was very frugal and had very little expenses, and so and lived in Michigan, so had a really low hourly rate and just got a ton of experience. Then which in it eventually turned into my main the main, I guess, like the niche that I fell into was doing running online course launches for spiritual businesses. That's just what things various opportunities led me toward. And then I realized if I started doing package pricing that I could charge significantly more. And it was terrifying. Going from hourly rates to pitching a package price of a retainer. I wanted to do a retainer. And there's a question coming later talking about like jumping off the cliff. I've actually had a really low risk business journey because I've always been the breadwinner. First as a single person, then when I met my husband, I was always the main person bringing in income. And so it had to be low risk because I didn't have a backup plan. This was the only thing. So I had each phase feed into and fund the next phase. So first it was freelancing, then it was essentially that when I started doing package pricing, it essentially became a marketing agency. And then I did that for a few years. That was the only thing I did, and then launched my first mastermind. That was back in 2019. And that was so scary. I had no audience at the time. So, 6 months before I knew I wanted to start a mastermind, I had no audience because it's all word of mouth. And I was like, okay, I want to charge $5,000. I want to get 10 people in. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to launch a podcast because I love podcasts and I love listening to podcasts. And I think it'd be so cool to have a podcast. It was like a very intrinsic, I want to do this thing. And I intentionally launched it 6 months before I wanted to have my first mastermind launch so that I could build up a value bank. I could build up thought leadership. I could create some sort of audience, a place that I could point people to. And then got 8 people in for my very first mastermind launch. It was terrifying. I launched for 3 months straight. It was a marathon. A lot of it, again, zero audience. Yes, I did have my podcast that a few dozen people were listening to at that point, but a lot of it was networking, which is, in my opinion, the most important thing we can be doing at the very starting stages of business, even if you're an online business. And which doesn't have to be in-person networking, but I was like going to my local chamber of commerce and giving talks, and I was joining other people's groups, and I was in Facebook groups, and I was commenting on people's Instagram posts, and it was just relationship building. That's what you essentially, I think it's the most effective use of your time when you're earlier on in business is having relationships with other people. It also makes business so much more fun because you're building relationships with other people. And that started doing one-on-one consulting and coaching after that. Then it wasn't until last year that and I was doing like side by side group masterminds and group programs and done for you marketing services for a few years. And then last year I completely gave up all agency work. So that was been over 12 years or 13 years. It was a slow build, a few years at each point. Not that you have to do this. I just wanted to show that, first of all, where we start our business is not going to be where we end our business. We have no idea what's coming. So just following what you want to do is perfect. And you get to fund the next point. If you have stability from investments or from another job, beautiful. I just have never had that. So low risk was really important to me. I wanted to have enough money coming in from this avenue so I could start this. I could launch something that I didn't know if it was going to do well at all, and it didn't need to support me in any way. Allison, our 2025 goal is to sell out round 2 of our group program. We are planning an enrollment period that starts in October and ends on Black Friday, so we avoid the height of the holiday season. We intend to begin the program in mid-March to accommodate Allison's maternity leave. Congratulations! I didn't know that. So excited for you two. You two aren't a couple. Yeah, I'm excited for both of you that Allison's going to have a baby from mid-December to mid-March. Does the amount of time between when we'll be collecting payments from clients and when we are planning to kick off which is 4+ months, feel problematic. Curious if you have guidance here on our proposed launch time and communication. So you can actually make this a selling point. There's a lot of things in business where we're like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this thing, or I'm worried that people are not going to join because it's 4 months out between our launch and when it starts. You need to think about what is the benefit here. Like, you put your little marketing hat on and what is actually the benefit here. So if I'm thinking from that perspective, it's like, how is this a selling point? You can have extended payment plans. Yeah. Like, instead of having a 6-month payment plan that would go over the entire course of the group program, you can now have a 10-month payment plan where they get to start now and pay with it. You can also, is there bonuses you can add for starting? Are there any live elements like community calls you could have ahead of time? So there's little touch points ahead of time. That's what I would be thinking. But I've joined masterminds 3 months ahead of time because I got instant access to just the course material. And I was really excited about the course material. So that could also be something. What can they get ahead of time to instantly get a certain result that they want? Okay, so let's see what questions have come in from the chat. Okay. M asked, my somatic work is body magic, but I find it so hard to communicate my tangible results to my audience. I help soul-led coaches, especially those who've already created some success, but feel like they're hitting an invisible ceiling. I expand their capacity to hold more income, impact, and success without burnout. They will embody the version of themselves who is the embodied leader, who is powerful and creates a legacy in their work. There wasn't a question in here, but I'm going to guess that I find it so hard to communicate my tangible results to my audience. I'm guessing that's what the question is. Well, I'm going to move forward with that assumption. So, when it comes to intangible stuff, often your clients are more on the emotional side. So you creating a vision and really leaning into stories and feeling is going to be the best strategy. That being said, it is still so important to find ways to make it tangible. Ways you can do that. Somatic work is body magic. So of course you're using a magical element, but with somatic work, like, there's so many studies and statistics that you could bring in. So I have, for those who are in regenerative business ecosystem, we have those like 8 ways, 8 types of posts that I use in every launch. One of them is statistics. And I try and do, what is one piece of science or current event or statistic that I can use in whatever I'm launching. And if you're doing somatic stuff, you can absolutely find them and talk about nervous system capacity, whether that's like, they found that breath work has done X, Y, and Z, or people who are stuck in a trauma cycle in their body are shown to be X more likely for depression. They're absolutely statistics. That's one way. The second way is stories. Now, this is also a great example, a great strategy for people who don't want to niche. But the way that we actually bring in things that are tangible and from the intangible is using stories. That can be your stories, that can be client stories, that can be stories of celebrities, that can be stories of people from your industry. And even if it's not, okay, so usually when people don't want to niche, or like they say my work is super intangible, they have a lot of results of people who get different results. Okay, I've done body magic and it's allowed me to do, and for one person, it's looked like the best sex of their life. And for another person, it's looked like being able to stand up to their boss. And for another person, it's like being able to feeling confident enough to quit their job. And that's not a bad thing, that's a great thing. So if you can actually pull stories from your life or clients' life and or in celebrities and or in current events, that will allow you to make the intangible tangible. And that's something in every stage of business. Storytelling is it's one of those skills that can be a little challenging at first, but it will absolutely serve you for the long term of your business. You will use it all of the time. And something, people who are on live with me on Monday for Radical Riches, the live workshop, the recent realization I had when I was preparing for that was money being a currency of exchange and words being a currency of exchange. And I don't think it's coincidence that usually people with the best communication skills through words are often the people with the most successful businesses. Okay, but great question, I get that all the time. One more from the chat from Jack. What is a good way to approach aligned influencers or other businesses who don't have posted sponsorship options? How do we quantify value of cross promotion? We are building a regenerative neighborhood. Okay, first part of this is I would use a cold pitch magic process. If you saw that workshop with Simone Soul that me and her did together, or if you're in peak visibility for my business ecosystem, there's in the other people's people section, there's a workshop on cold pitching. Cold pitching has been a huge part of my business growth. Cold pitching has literally led directly to over $1 million in revenue for me. The thing you want to be thinking about is you said approaching aligned influencers is you want to have a short list of I would be fucking obsessed if I got to work with this person because I love what they're doing. I watch all their videos. And I want to hang out with them. I love their mission. We're so connected. So it needs to be aligned from your end. And then you need to put in the work because great cold pitches are quantum leaps. If you get one person, one of these of the most aligned people saying yes, it can completely transform your business. So having a short list, what cold pitching usually does that makes it sleazy and why people usually have a negative connotation with cold pitching is because they're just like, I'm just trying to talk to as many. I have a list of 1,000 people and I'm going to DM them a copy and paste DM 100 different people a day, or I'm going to cold call people. The way to do it in a way that, again, for aligned people is have a short list of people you're genuinely obsessed with and then actually do the work to get into contact with them. One of my very first cold pitching successes, which I think that one led, it was like it was like, it turned into a long-term multi-year client relationship and tons of word of mouth, additional clients from that. It took me 3 months to get a hold of her because she notoriously never checks her emails and didn't have an assistant checking it. It was just like a black hole. Her email inbox is a black hole. And I was in one of her programs and DM'd her and she doesn't check her Facebook DMs, and I ended up reaching out to one of her collaborators to talk to him. And he was the one that got me into contact with her. So the right people are worth the work. And you need to be in this almost humble state of you're going to be asking something of them. Of course, it should be a win-win situation from both ends, but you are asking something from them. You want to be a true fan of them and you want to be thinking about what is in it for them and again, put in the work, like you were saying, to quantify the value of cross promotion. You need to do the work of, okay, building a regenerative neighborhood. Look at the science, look at the papers on this. What are the ripple effect? What's actually happening in current events? Because even if the aligned influencers are like more into spirituality and like you don't have any sense that they're like into the science of it, every human brain is calmed by science. So even if it's like one bullet point or 3 bullet points where we're like bringing in the actual numbers, it will help any pitch that you do. So feel free to follow-up question in the chat, but I'm going to jump back over to questions that were submitted ahead of time. Pauline, let me put this in here. Pauline, I have a magical person in a traditional field branding question that I'd really appreciate your thoughts on as someone who has built a successful business, being their full selves, magic and all. What advice would you give me as someone who is taking the leap after 20 years of corporate experience in a field that demonizes intuition? But I fully believe in the power of intuition working in harmony with my expertise, data. I want to come out and be my full self, but I feel self-conscious about it when it comes to my branding and positioning. I know stepping into it is the right path for me, but it feels really scary. Any words of wisdom here? Thank you. Okay. One example that I think, just to put it out as an expander for you, is there is a woman, I think she'd be totally fine with me telling this story, but I haven't asked her, so I'm going to anonymize it. But she is in the corporate space. She has been for decades, and she has really went up the ranks. And she pretty much doesn't, all she wants to be doing is coaching and building her coaching business. But her company loves her so much that they will pay her anything to stay, will give her like flexible hours as much as she wants. and paid for her coaching certification. And she is like out there as like into rock and roll, like into coaching, like totally out there. So if you are a key contributor in the business that you're on, because I can't tell from your question whether you're like taking the leap is leaving corporate or if taking the leap is just being honest about who you are in a corporate setting. But if you are a really valuable, this is a weird term, like valuable asset to the business that you're in, you coming out as your true self shouldn't matter and could actually be opportunities for create more opportunities within a corporate setting. So I wanted to share that story as like an expander. If you are like, I want to be doing same business, but just being more me, you can take little steps into it. And I don't know, I find that people are just really accepting when you truly love yourself and you just share who you are. People love it. And if you are saying that you're trying to leave the corporate situation and be off on your own, I honestly never took the leap. As I said earlier in this Q&A, I have been very risk averse where I want to be fully in this one thing while I'm building the other thing, and this to be in a good place before I fully jump into it. So, can you just build up your coaching if you're wanting to leave corporate? Can you build up your coaching outside of it and it get to a place where it can cover your expenses and then leap into it? That's how I would leap. But again, I'm risk averse. There are absolutely people who the motivation they need is to burn all the bridges behind them. That sounds so stressful for me. I'm like not into that. Another thing is if as a magical thing, a magical person, like you said, Pauline, hypnosis is amazing. When I was way earlier on in business and could not, I was like, I know I have to make weekly videos, but I'm like willing to do them and I have things to say, but I just wasn't doing it for weeks and weeks. I took it and worked on it in a series of sessions with a hypnotist to connect in with what was the block there of not wanting to be public on video. And after it, I was totally fine being on video. So there could be opportunity to get supported in that way. I'm sure there's like guided hypnosis if you don't want to work one-on-one with someone, but working with a hypnotist is very accessible these days. And one other expander, if you are planning on leave corporate, I have found that every time I do the big scary thing, I'm immediately rewarded. It's like almost like a test that you pass of you moving in the direction of what you actually want. Like last year, I let go of a team member who had been on my team for 5 years, and I it was no longer a good relationship and it wasn't in service of the business mission to keep her on board. And I'd been thinking about it for over a year. And when I actually had that conversation and we parted ways, the next month I had my biggest income month in my business by far, like shockingly more. And it was like, I could feel into of, oh my gosh, I'm so terrified to have this conversation. I'm like, I'm a Cancer moon. I'm very conflict averse. Terrified to have this conversation, but I finally have the conversation and I could see ahead of time. I could see my feeling on the other side of how would it feel to be on the other side of this? Oops. Pen. There you go. I could see how I would feel on the other side of it. If you can think about being on the other side of leaving the job or coming clean to your boss of like how weird you are and like what you actually want to be doing in data, if you can feel how you and your body would feel after that conversation or after that action, and it's, oh my gosh, I feel so expansive. I feel so much lighter. I feel like all of this energy coming into my being. It's often a conversation or decision that's worth having. Great question, Pauline. Okay, on to Sarah. Go. Okay, so Sarah asks, how do you decide the format of your product based on where you are at in your business? Context, I have a new offering around creating an excellent customer service experience and increasing retention rate at your company, but I can't see the vision of where it fits in my ecosystem. Could a $500 course or a 3-month mastermind could be a $500 course or a 3-month mastermind if we implement the systems together. How would you make this decision? It sounds so the end result of the program is the same either way. It's just about what is the actual format of it. If you want it as like a $500 I'm guessing self-study course or a 3-month mastermind. I don't know what else you have in your business. So I would be thinking about where's the hole. So if you have mini offers and you already have a mastermind and you're already doing one-on-one, then okay, a course in the middle would be a great space. It would fill the hole. That would be one way to think about it. Another way to think about it is, what are your people asking you for? Or what do your people always sign up for? Yeah. So like, I know that when I have live calls for a program, whether it's in a mastermind setting or a membership or a live round of a course, it doesn't matter. My people want that. So what do your people actually want and what are people asking you for? I ran a mastermind at the end of last year because everyone was messaging me being like, can I hire you? Can I do private coaching with you? Or when's your mastermind opening again? It was like, the people are asking for it. I might as well give them what they want. So what are they asking for? Or what do you know that they love? And then the most important question is, what are you most excited about? So is there something where you're actually excited about putting it in this scenario? Oftentimes, like, offers can absolutely change. They can absolutely change. So if you start with the one that you're either most excited about or your people are asking you for the most, it can always change. You can be like, okay, the second launch, you can say, I put it out as a course, but I've been listening to you guys and you guys really want more hand holding in this process. So here we are. It's now a mastermind. I know that's not a formulaic black and white answer, but there you go. Tori, I have done 2 launches, low ticket and high ticket, to my email list. I have a small 200-person, a small list, 200 people with 40 to 50% open rates. My click rate on launches is less than 2%. Is the copy problem or an offer problem? People say they are interested and love the offer. Price is a concern always. Sorry, let me put this in the chat. Price is a concern always. Trying to figure out how to work less, but make more. So I tried higher ticket, but no takers. How do I start to figure out what's wrong with these launches? I got a few positive inquiries every time, but I'm not quite sure where to go. I put out a request to meet with people for more specific market research, but even that had no takers. Also, I'm doing something alternative than traditional therapy. Okay, so a few things going on here. A 2% click rate, if you would be great if you had a larger audience. So as you grow that email list, you're going to be stoked if you have a 2% click rate for launches, just so you know. So maybe just celebrate, I have a 2% click rate, and work on building your email list. With smaller audiences, with 200 people, I mentioned this earlier with another question, launches are going to have a much more human component to it. Like, just sending emails to an email list isn't enough. You actually reaching out directly to people and forming relationships with people. And something I used to do earlier on is, if I had like 10 or 20 people who I thought would be amazing clients, I would just have them as a list on my desk and check in every day. Not, hey, how are you doing? But I would, if they posted on Instagram, I would have a very meaningful comment on their post. And if I'm just being aware of what they're doing, especially if you're doing high ticket, you actually putting in the human legwork in the beginning when you don't have an audience is generally what you need to do, because there isn't trust yet. You don't have this like big value bank of podcasts and videos and posts and blogs and things that are live and free where people can be interacting with them and feel a certain level of trust. So without knowing all the details of your launch, because some people say they launch and they really just sent out 3 emails and that's it. First of all, often we need to be promoting to the point where it's annoying. If we think about, only 50% of people are opening your emails and 2% click, that's 100, 2%, 2 people went to your sales page. Okay, 2 people went to your sales page for each email that you sent. That is a tiny amount of people, not even the right amount of people who'd want to join. So you sending lots of emails, posting a ton on social media, especially if you use social media as a marketing strategy, you have to realize that 1% of your following will see it. Maybe after that crazy March algorithm change, it's like less than 1% of your audience will see it. So posting to the point where you feel annoying about it is a good idea, because they're only seeing 1% or 25% of what you're posting, where you're seeing everything and you're being like, oh, am I overdoing it? No, you're not overdoing it. Go more, 10 times more. Has there been trust built yet? It's really hard for people to want to say yes to something if trust isn't built. And then when you're newer in business in terms of the offer, because the specific question was, is this a copy problem or an offer problem? I would be thinking on the offer side of things, offers have the spectrum between being the artist and being the servant. And the servant is essentially like seeing what people want and meeting a market need. And when you don't have an audience and you don't have trust built, you need to be in the servant position and meeting people where they're at and giving people what they want. As you grow your business and build trust and build thought leadership, you can swing more heavily in the artist side of this, where and you can all think of people. You can all think of people that were like whatever they put out, you don't even read the sales page. You will buy that thing because they've swung so far in the artist side that whatever they put out, they have a cult following that people want to join. And generally, like most of our offers will have some components of both, unless, again, unless you're like brand new in business where you need to stick in the servant side of things, meeting people where they're at, meeting the market where it's at, and giving people what they want. But even like in my business right now, I have a series of offers that I've mini offers, entry level offers that are much further in the servant side of things because the point of this is meeting people who don't know me. Right. I have offers specifically for people who have never worked with me and don't know me. Therefore, I want to give them what they want. And then as they go through it, as they read more emails and watch more videos, listen to more podcast episodes, and they're like, okay, I like her, she's my person, then they can come further. And I have artist level offers for those people. Okay, so that's on the offer side. On the copywriting thing, assuming that you actually sent out like 12 emails, 12 emails and did a bunch of social media posts and you did a launch event and you did the whole shebang of the launch. That's the other side of it, is like making sure there's enough actual launch content before you write it off as a failure. Assuming you did all of that thing, then yes, it's a copywriting problem where people are being like, oh, I'm interested, but they don't actually take the leap. You can play around with your mindset with this too. And there's three areas of mindset work that's really powerful with offers and launches is, what are my beliefs about myself and my ability to be this person's teacher or coach? What are my beliefs about the offer? Do I think it's amazing? Do I think it's a no-brainer and people would be totally like self-sabotage if they didn't join? And then what are my beliefs about the person, my people? Do I believe they'll show up? Do I believe they'll be amazing clients, or do I think that I'm going to be resentful of them? So we want to think about those three areas with that. But assuming it's either like the offer isn't enough in the servant side, you didn't actually launch it and you only sent 3 emails and you counted it as a failure, or after you check through both of those things, then we're looking at copywriting. Most people, copywriting is the problem with launches. They're not tuning into what people actually want and communicating in a way that they can hear it. Okay, Namisha. I Tell me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Okay. This is the question. Namisha, you said that giving money a task to do helps. And I find it really shifted my perspective on making money and what's enough. I love that. For context for everyone else, this idea helped me a lot too, where a lot of people in online business is, I just want to make a $5,000 a month or a $10,000 a month or a $100,000 a month. And they have this arbitrary number that's usually more attached to the collective and what other people's perceptions of them would be if they hit that number versus actual reasoning behind the number. So a really great money manifestation practice that I recommend doing, which is tedious, but you actually identifying where the money would go when you get to that point. So first we need to know what your current expense is. Then, okay, what's a step beyond that? So my values are, for me, I'll use me as an example. I don't care about my car. I have no interest in buying a fancy car. I hope my car lasts me for decades. But food, I would love to I want to 2x my food budget and I want to go to the fanciest restaurants 4 times a week. I don't know. No, I actually don't want to eat out that much. And then, okay, I want like upgrades for my house, really nice new furniture that is made by artisans with eco-conscious things. And okay, that's a $5,000 chair. And okay, stuff like, or I want to hire this person on my team, or I want to donate X amount to this charity. And I want to start saving this amount for my savings account for this thing. And you being super, super specific on each of those things for the next level. And then you get to keep playing oops. just paused for, oh, there we are, back on here. Hopefully you guys can hear me on this. It seems like it's fine. And then you just make more columns in the spreadsheet of, okay, what's a step beyond that? Okay, if I get there, what's a step beyond that? And it starts getting really hard. And it gets harder and harder to actually imagine where all the money is going. But even just for the next level, you having a very specific monetary goal, and you know exactly like everything you'll spend that money on, and how you'll save, and how you'll invest, and how you'll contribute, and what you'll be able to buy, and what you'll be able to, like, all of that, it's really helpful. Okay, so that's the context with that. But I've also been thinking of giving money a task related to our activism, not just personal expenses. And that's where I find I'm truly scattered. So much tugs at my heartstrings, and it just feels easier to make random donations than to focus on one goal. How do we reach that stage of being so clear sighted? This is what I'm here to change, do, feed. Mine shifts all the time, and I'm entranced with your concept of making small yet sustained contributions versus big pipe dreams or just randomly contributing stuff. First of all, what's wrong with big pipe dreams? I'm fine with big pipe dreams. I just from hearing what you're saying, I honestly think it's okay for you to hang out in this space for a while. It's okay to just be randomly contributing as you're like really feeling into where your desire to commit to actually is. So I don't think you have to rush out of this phase. This could be almost like dating, where you're like, okay, let me like go and research this area, and what's over here and what's over here, and I want to donate to this month. And there are also people who have different causes. Every month they choose a new cause, and 5% of their gross revenue, that's where it's going to go to this cause this month. Or like every person who joins this program, $100 of their purchase goes towards this cause. So you don't have to do what I recommend necessarily. I find that if you want to have a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, these massive legacies that you're living in or you're leaving in a specific area, you kind of have to choose. But it sounds more like you're in this dating phase where it's going to make itself obvious over time. So if you just settle in and feel at peace and almost exciting of, ooh, I'm just like trying out these different causes, and I know that in time, one will make itself apparent to me of where my time, my energy, my thought leadership, my marketing, like all of these things I want to put behind this. Okay, let's hop back over to the chat. Nydia, I find that I'm still really uncomfortable marketing, especially on social media. I believe you already had marketing expertise when you launched your business. So, what would you suggest for a newbie to help figure out what the deep down block might be and how to overcome it? Yes, I did. I started off doing freelance marketing, so I was doing marketing for other people for years before I ever marketed myself. Yes, 100%. Oh, sorry. Wait. Before I actually answer this, one comment I do want to make is I think it's a disservice in our current culture. And I've said this a few times, so you might have heard me talk about this before. I think that there's a disservice in our culture where there's no longer an apprenticeship. Like people don't ever do apprenticeships. They really rarely do apprenticeships. Sometimes internships can play this role, but for me, a lot of the first few years of doing freelancing and having a marketing agency were really almost felt like being paid to learn. And that's so I created my own apprenticeship program. So I not to say that this is for you, Nydia, but for other people who are like brand new and they're like, I don't know where to start, you can get a lot out of working for someone else's business and being behind the scenes of their business. You will learn so much more, not so much more, but you can really fast track your process of feeling comfortable in your own business of what to do by being on the back end and being of service to someone else's business. So for anyone who needed to hear that. Okay, but what would you suggest for a newbie to help figure out what the deep down block might be and how to overcome it? Is it a block, or is it you just need to keep doing it? Sure, it could be you should be doing hypnosis around visibility and being seen and putting yourself out there. But I would be thinking more about how do I actually just start doing it? It's like a little bit of exposure therapy around consistency of your my first videos, my first posts were terrible. My first programs weren't as good as they are now. It's if you can just start doing the thing, you learn in the process of doing it. And it's very low. It's not, you're not going to get hurt in the process of posting an Instagram post or whatever your marketing channel is. I guess that being said, daily mindset journaling, I probably a great idea. I think it's a great idea for every single online business owner to do some sort of daily mindset practice. As someone who, when someone first told them to do it, was like, I'm too smart for this and I'm too spiritually evolved for this because I do shadow work and I do all of this other crazy soul retrieval stuff. Therefore, I'm too good for mindset work. That's too basic. But I had this realization that most of the people who had the results that I want in business did do daily mindset work. Therefore, I started doing it. When I go through phase, I still really hate journaling, but it's something I keep coming back to because it is just an effective thing. So this is where you want to be thinking about it could just be morning pages, 3 pages of morning pages, or actual intentional belief reconstruction where you're trying to install new beliefs. Okay. One more from the chat, and then we'll go back to the questions that were sent in. M says, thank you for getting my question. If you have time, I'm super dyslexic and had such a block around communication that I am going to move through. Do you have any tips on where to start? A block around communication, as in, because I'm assuming you're saying that because you grew up dyslexic, you people around you put on this belief on you that you were like either dumb or you were like not good at writing and you took that forward. Yes, okay. I again, I mean I hate this answer, but honestly, I would take it into mindset work of can you actually say, okay, here's my goal. My goal is to have 10 new clients this month. And what are the things that people are saying to me, or what are some thoughts in my head that are telling me I can't have that? I don't post enough on Instagram because I'm a bad writer. I'm a bad writer. I'm dyslexic, so I'll never have new clients. I don't have a big enough audience. I don't have time for that. I actually hate working with people. I don't know. What are all the things telling you you don't actually want that or you can't have that? And then you go through one by one and switch them. Ask, is this ultimately true? And then what is something I would want to believe instead? So I'm a bad writer, if that's the one, or whatever your version of that it is. Okay. Is that ultimately true? No. What's actually true is I don't have that much practice with it because of some mean people from my childhood. And I'm willing to put in the work to learn the skills and to play around with it and to have fun with it. And then, okay, what would I want to believe instead? I would want to believe that whatever words I put into the world, it magically attracts the perfect people to me. Even if I have typos, even if I'm not being clear, they can just feel through my words that I'm the right person for them. Have fun with that. Okay, let's go back to questions sent in. Mm, Aline, or is it Aline? Oh, I'm glad it was helpful. Okay. What are your best practices regarding a CRM system, subscription management, the connection to automations? Do you use Zapier? This is all so complex, and I wonder if there's simpler ways to do it. When you say CRM, which is customer relationship management, I'm assuming most people use that term if they're in like a sales job or they're in a one-to-one client space, done for you services place, and they're doing sales calls with people. That's where hear that term a lot, but I'm not sure if you're using it in that context or if you're just using that as a blanket statement for general online business automation. So I'm going to answer both ways. For CRM, I just use if for like sales calls and stuff, I use super low tech. I just use Google Sheets of okay, someone DM'd me, I'm gonna mark them down on Google Sheets. I'm gonna make a note a week from now that this is the person to respond. This is what they said. Just because usually if you're doing high ticket and you're doing sales calls for high ticket, it's just a low volume and automating it is often a waste of time and it dehumanizes the process, which is a detriment when you're doing one-on-one or high ticket. Okay, but if you're talking about more general, larger automations, yes, I use Zapier for certain situations. You ideally want to choose platforms that natively integrate. I know you are in the regenerative business ecosystem, so there is a document in there that's like a list of all of the tech that I recommend using, depending on like courses and landing pages and blah, blah. So you'll find a doc in there on that. But ideally, you're looking for platforms that you're welcome. Ideally, you're looking for platforms that natively integrate. So if you have you choose the main platform you want to use. And you are then going to look at other things. You use as much of that one. So I use Kajabi for a lot of stuff. I don't think everyone has to use Kajabi by any means. There's a bunch of other platforms that work great. But for example, I use Kajabi. And so I'm going to use as much of Kajabi as I can. I'm going to put my landing pages on there. I'm going to send emails from there. I'm going to do whatever I can from Kajabi because it's all within one platform. And therefore, I don't need to worry about all the integrations. And then from there, I'm going to think about, okay, I could use proof for my social proof little pop-ups on my sales page, but it actually doesn't play well with Kajabi. What is a version of this that plays well with my main platform? And then I'm going to go find one. Then you don't have to worry about all the Zapier stuff. But yeah, I use Zapier a lot for various things. Okay, Julie. Oh my gosh, this is 5 questions. Let's see. Let's answer them all one by one. Julie got a 5 for 1. Which CRM tool do you use? Wait, that's actually crazy. You and Aline literally have the exact same question. Are you from the same company? Are you from the same company? Okay, but you asked the same question as Aline, which is interesting. What CRM tool do you use in subscription management tool? I use Google Sheets for basic CRM, but I use Kajabi for most of my automations. I use ConvertKit sometimes for emails, but oh, and then you said subscription management tool. I'm guessing you're talking about that for payments. I just use Kajabi. I had a brief experiment earlier this year where I was playing with Samcart as a checkout page, and it's lovely, but it just was like extra hassle for that, not that much more. So I've gone back to using Kajabi for everything because it's just all in one. Again, you don't have to use Kajabi. I use it and you just find something that has as much all in one as possible if you don't want to deal with all the different tech speaking to another. She's not in the same business as you? That's insane. You guys asked literally the exact same question. Okay, which newsletter tool do you use? I use Kajabi and ConvertKit for newsletters. I think ConvertKit is a great email service provider for most, unless a different platform you have there has an email newsletter that you want to use. If you're on Kajabi and you just want to use Kajabi newsletters, but in general, ConvertKit is amazing. It's very low priced and it's so user friendly. A lot of people use Flowdesk, and I'm like, I don't understand. It does not seem like an easy one. And then also like Active Campaign is kind of like a step up from ConvertKit, but I don't think it's worth it because it's more expensive and it's less user friendly. But okay, what tips do you have for us if we have quite broad target audience? Yes, we have done avatar sheets, including yours. Love it. Several times. Great. But our community is serving a lot of people who are ready to make a change in this world. I'm like, what is the question here? What tips do you have for us if we have a quite broad target audience? Are you on the call, Julie? Can you give me more? I don't think you're on the call. If I want a little bit more context, what tips do I have? Okay, without knowing anything about your business, because I didn't copy over your email, which probably had your domain in it. I'll do that next time so I can do my own little research. But usually your offers are going to be more, you probably have like a broader range of, okay, you are in the same company. Okay, what is it? What do you mean by it being broad target audience? This was the question that she sent in. What do you think she actually means by that question? I'm assuming that your different offers are almost like different wings of, okay, I work with a bunch of different types of people, and we have a course on meditation, and we have a course on breath work, and we have a course on mindset work. And in general, if you have a broad audience, you probably have a large audience, and you just need to handle it. Okay, oh, the range is wide, not a special tonic. They'll work on, okay, not a special topic. They'll work on all different phases in their life. I feel like I need a little more information. Okay, but okay, general tips I have for a broad audience. You're going to have an easier time if you hyper specific offers just are easier to sell than broad offers. That doesn't mean you have to do them, but having a specific offer is easier to sell. What I mean by that is here's a course where you can learn everything you need to have a better life. That'd be so hard to sell. Like, people are like, great, better life. What does that even mean? Who is it for? I don't know. Versus something that is learn the calming breath work uh, that will help you I'm making stuff up, that will help grow your baby's brain size while you're in pregnancy. Wouldn't that be cool? Like that hyper specific, people would buy that because they're like, they know who it's for, they know the benefit. But if you have broad offers for a broad audience, I would try and get as specific as possible in my different pieces of marketing material. If I'm sending out an email, I'm trying to think of what is one specific archetype from within my larger audience. So if I work with any type of person, I'm going to choose for this post, I'm going to be thinking about women in their 30s who are single and don't have any kids. That's who I'm thinking of when I'm writing this email. And then when I go to the next one, is okay, I'm going to speak to the a specific pain point of being at work and having a brain fog. That's going to be the specific problem I'm talking about in this poster email. Because, okay, we have this broad thing that helps a lot of different types of people in a lot of different ways. For the different emails and posts, you want to try and get as specific as possible so that you can start checking off different like piece archetypes. Yeah, work with archetypes of the audience. Yeah, great. Okay. So is it possible to work one-on-one with you? Yes, I am doing private one-on-one. I haven't announced it publicly yet. It's within regenerative ecosystem. You can see it in like the welcome section. You can apply to work one-on-one. I know a few people have applied so far and I haven't seen it yet because we're still in the promotion of regenerative business ecosystem. So my focus is there. What's your unique twist or tip when it comes to branding? I know you're in regenerative business ecosystem. Go take somatic branding masterclass. Like that'll take you through my unique twist. Adeline, giveaways, are they a good idea for visibility during a long launch? I'm worried they might attract the wrong people who will then not interact with my content. I'm launching a long online course on intuitive herbalism. I wrote a book on this approach a couple years ago, so I was thinking on doing a book giveaway. Both sides of this are true. It is great for visibility and it will attract a broader audience than who will necessarily hire you. I still think it's worth doing if you're attracted to the idea of it. I've only done this a few times, and every time I got a big boost in visibility, which helps you for all future launches. Even if it's even if it's getting people who like just want free stuff, I have no problem with people following me and just wanting my free stuff. I like get DMs all the time of I took your free workshop and it was better than this $2,000 thing I took. And I was able to do my first launch and have 40 people join just from this free thing. I love those DMs. I don't get like resentful that they've never bought from me. So I think that it's definitely worth doing it, especially with your book, because you wrote a book, were even if the people who get the book just end up being the free people in your audience, that's something that can hand over to other people. And I found, at least for my book, and I assume it's for your book too, my book has created amazing clients because they read it. So many people will binge it in a weekend and then immediately they understand my ethos and they understand what's different about regenerative business versus others. So I say go for it. But both sides are true, but I don't think there's anything wrong with people who are just here for your free stuff, being a part of it. Okay, Chelsea, I have a narrow audience, women healers, to whom I offer a wide array of services, functional medicine and subconscious therapy. How do I identify lead magnets that will actually land? I create what my in-person clients often ask for, but have no takers online. Perhaps it's a naming issue. I'd appreciate insight and guidance. Okay. Narrow audience, wide array of services. Ideally over time, this is an ideal because I know it's a lot of work, is I would try and make a lead magnet for each of your services. And they don't all have to be lead magnets. Some of them could be like low ticket offers, like a $25 ebook or a $45 video masterclass. Like that can often check the box for lead magnets. You can choose either one or do both. But If you have a wide array of services, let's say we identify, okay, you said functional medicine and subconscious therapy. Let's say there are 5 different types of services that you do. Can you Okay, there's 2 different ways to do this. I would try and pick one lead magnet or entry level offer for each of the 5 types of services that you do. The other side of this is you can speak to different pain points and desires. So if we're thinking of, we need to take a step back. With lead magnets and entry level offers, we need to be thinking what we talked about earlier of this pendulum swing between servant and artist. We want to be on the servant side of things where we are meeting people at where they're at and thinking about what they're actually searching for. What are they consciously worried about or desiring? How do we make stuff that meets them where they're at there? A great way to do this is think about like SEO, like search engine optimization. If we're like making a blog based on what a bunch of people are Googling or what a lot of people DM you with questions about, that's the area that we want to be thinking of. It's this, what are people consciously worried about, desiring? What are they searching for? We want to make lead magnets in that realm. That'll probably either take you in the direction of, okay, women healers is the narrow audience. I'm going to think about all of the things, all of the main pain points and the main worries and the main desires that they have. And I'm going to make different lead magnets involving that. And or here are my different offers. How can I take this a step back of what people are actively searching for? Okay, great. Melanie, this was such a good question. I really like this one. What trends are you noticing with the economy? My conversion rates have steadily declined since the election last year, and especially since January, even though I've been doing everything right, quote unquote, doing everything right. And my sense is that there's a collective shift happening with folks feeling good about spending right now. You mean not good about spending right now? Is this just me and my offer or the coaching industry slash economy? We're seeing this across the board. You see this in the news, like spending is down. Like that is collectively absolutely what we see happening. Does that mean that has to directly impact your business? No. We saw this during COVID. The economy was down. People were spending less during COVID. And also, people did so well. A lot of online business did spectacularly in those times. So, yes, it's a trend overall with the economy. Also, there's a little nuance with this, specifically with the coaching industry, where this could be connected with the economy, but I actually think it's because of the last 5 years, people being unethical in the coaching industry, where they're like charging $50,000 for a mastermind that doesn't get anyone any results, or like they're selling this thing that doesn't get someone results. And a lot of people have felt manipulated and like almost ashamed of being a part of the coaching industry and ashamed of their past decisions. So you need to make decisions based off of that. What that often looks like is you need more free things out in the world for people to experience you. People have been burned. This is why this is my all of my messaging around mini offers. People have been burned. They've been so burned for the last 5 years or 4 years because it was so easy for people as coaches to sell in 2020 and 2021. And so people were burned, and you need to give them chances to be able to interact with you in your work. So, mini offers, freebies, free classes, blogs, YouTube videos, podcasts. What are ways that people can actually feel you, experience you, get a taste of you in your work so that they're ready to take the next step if they're the right person? But back with the economy, I have just notes over here that I'm making sure I cover all the things. I think another element of this is AI is fucking with things. AI is fucking with things. It's making it really easy for people just to put fodder onto the internet. Like on the side of people are now like posting more using AI, and it's like you can like feel like that scent of this isn't real and something's not right here. I'm not necessarily anti-AI. I think there's like smart ways to use it and inconclusive data around energy usage and water usage, but it is absolutely making people put out shit ton, not just in the coaching industry, but across all fields, like tons and tons of blogs and tons of Instagram posts that are literally just fodder. So it is like a noisier, more distracted space. So how do we get around that? We become more human. We actually write poetry. We write from our hearts and our souls so that we can actually hit people on a frequency level, especially if you're working in the spiritual space. People can feel it. People can feel your energy coming through a post. Again, you can absolutely use AI and still have your energy come through a post, but you don't be lazy with this. Like you can actually have a differentiator between you and everyone else is writing your own stuff. Yeah. Bird. Yeah. Okay. So lean into expressing your gifts and being human. Also think if you can think back, I think in general, when people are like, everything feels really hard right now, can you look back to when things were easy and identify what was working then? What were you doing back then when things felt easy? Because we can often move forward in business and feel like we're like past doing X, Y, and Z. We're like, we have too big of an audience to have to do this thing over here. But can you actually lean back into, okay, when I first got started in business, what worked really was going live every day on Instagram. I haven't done that in a while because I didn't need to, but what if I started doing that again? Can I try that out for 3 days a week for a month and see how that was? For example, I'm not saying to go live every day. Another thing with this is in talking with someone who does ads for face meta ads for very large online businesses, she shared this stat recently that I has been like sitting in my brain that because one of her clients came to her saying that conversions are my webinar opt-in to my course aren't working anymore. Like it's all like the ads and blah blah blah, it's all over and blah blah. And when she actually dug into the data and looked at conversion rates over longer periods of time, it showed that's not actually the true. That person's conversion rates were just as good, if not better. But you can't just look at did they convert in the first week or the first day? Did they convert in the first 6 months, the first 12 months? So if you can reframe of people are sometimes taking longer to get to know you and sometimes taking longer to be in your energy before they're ready to take the next step with you, can that be okay with you? I have a really successful client who an eight-figure amazing business and it takes people on average 18 months of knowing her before they're ready to dogs are barking, before they're ready to actually step into her higher ticket thing. She has no problem with that. It's great. I'm going to be here. I have no plans of shutting down my business. Everything I do today is serving my 18 months from now self. So if our conversion rate's not actually working, or do you actually need more time, more giving more value, or better onboarding of getting people into your world and knowing about you? Good question, Melanie. Okay, so let's do one more from questions already sent in and then switch back over to those that were sent in from the chat. Okay. Laura says, I have two ready products that I haven't made a proper funnel for, marketed, or sold effectively yet. One, a food psychology foundations course, 400 pounds, where you let go of all beliefs that change is impossible. Two, a food psychology advanced study. It's a deep dive for people who want to really understand the whole field, 1,600 pounds. Also not sold often or effectively. My question is, I've been evaluating my whole business. Long term, I don't think I want to tie myself to a food psychology coach identity, okay? But these products are the summation of 10 years of coaching and study, and they are really good and ready to sell. Should I reorient my business first or try to complete evergreen funnels? Okay, so you said you haven't made a proper funnel for marketed or sold effectively yet. So if I were, you don't have to take my advice, but I would actually try and effectively launch these. Do a real, like a launch versus a funnel. A launch is essentially a condensed period of time that there's a reason for someone to join during this condensed period of time. Whether you're closing doors on it, you have a super discount, there's a bonus, there's some reason for them to purchase during this condensed period of time. That's a launch. A funnel is you can still like loop in. It's this launch over here is time based. So like by July 3rd, this is ending. Where a funnel, you can loop in deadlines in the same way, but it's like in the next 7 days, and people can join anytime. And the bonus is only available for the 7 days after they join. I recommend doing a launch before doing a funnel. I have absolutely worked with people who have done successful funnels right out the gate, but you are way more likely to be able to set up a successful funnel if you have a successful launch first. Because a launch is a way to low risk test the organic content because you're going to send out a bunch of emails. You're going to have a page. You're going to have a bunch of social media posts. You're probably going to make videos or some sort of free offering of some sort, whether that's a video training or a PDF, some reason for them to interact with the work. And you're going to test it all in this condensed period of time. If that goes well, boom, you have a successful funnel, right? Ready to go. Versus a funnel, you either have to like spend a bunch of money on ads to even know if it's going to work. And then you don't know if it's even going to work. Where even if a launch does like mediocre, you can see, okay, this email did good. This one didn't. Why did this one not? Was it the content? Was it the email subject line? Okay, my page, when I actually look at the conversion rate on the page, it's really low. Is that because of I am not using, it wasn't mobile optimized, or was it because I need to change out the branding, or I need to include videos on the page? You can get so much data from properly launching something and promoting something. I love if people can listen to me, like please organically launch, even if you consider it a fucking failure. The data you get from that is gold. That if you immediately wanted to turn it into a funnel, you can use that data right out the bay. So please do that. And then to answer you don't want to just be a food psychology coach. I would still, personally, if your future version of your business in some way ties to food psychology, where it can be a part of your larger product suite, I would keep it and I would try and get something up and running, do a launch and put it into a funnel before expanding out your product suite. If you have the energy for it. Some people are super like a lot of neurodivergent people I know, I also have ADHD. They have a hard time actually doing stuff if they don't have their own excitement around it. So if you literally don't have the energy to do that and put it into a funnel and you're ready to just move on, you can come back to that later. But if you're not in that boat where you need that your personal excitement to have any sort of motivation, highly recommend actually doing a launch, putting into a funnel before you move on to expanding your product suite. Okay. Okay. Oh, we have only one more question that was already sent in. Okay, we're gonna do the last question that was already sent in before we return back to the chat, because then we can just do the chat. Okay, Nicole, I'm making the transition from word of mouth coaching business to actually posting my prices on my website and allowing people to instantly book. Congrats, that's exciting. Before, my sales process was completely reliant on me actually talking to people and writing a proposal for a program. The process took 4 hours total of time with me to get them into the program. Now I would like my marketing to do the work. I'm building an audience through podcast, YouTube channel, Insight Timer, but I'm super scared to make the transition. Putting my prices on my website feels horrifying, and I keep wanting to lower them. Though I haven't raised my prices in 2 years and have a full practice now with my current prices. I understand this so much. I don't think I ever put my agency prices on my website. That was like, you can only get this through a proposal. So I get this. But okay, transition from word of mouth coaching to posting my prices on my website and allow people to instantly book. This is really exciting. I'm wondering if there's a way that you can soft step into this. So there could be, you can absolutely rip off this band-aid and just be alive with all the sensation. Like you're gonna have lots of sensations going through your body when you actually put the number out and put it out publicly. I remember even, oh, okay, I have two different ways you can soft step into this. The first way is people have to DM you for the price. So you're not going on a sales call, but they're like, if you're interested, DM me for the information. They can, and you can actually do your back and forth. That's how I actually started when I stopped doing sales calls but I was still taking one-to-one clients, not for agency. For agency, I always did. I started doing paid proposals where they would pay $500 for a 2-hour call, and then I would send them a proposal after the fact. I did that for a while, but for coaching, what I would do is they had to DM me for information. And so we would go on back and forth, and I would share the information. I would share the link to join that way. So there was like a little bit of gatedness without having to be on a sales call. That worked really well. And then another way to soft step into this is when I relaunched my mastermind last year and it had been closed down for a year, what I had done is there's 2 pages. One was essentially an opt-in page, and the second was it was a full sales page. Oh, you can see this for regenerative business ecosystem right now. If you go to my link in bio, there's essentially an opt-in page as my link in bio. Even though I've been sending the full sales page to like people on my email list and stuff, I like having this is like the soft step. You don't have to do this. You can rip off the band-aid, but what I had was all of the main details of what was inside the program. Here, let me actually, if for we'll include the chat with the replay, but if you want to see what this looks like, this opt-in page, I'm putting the URL in the chat. It's learn.thedirtyalchemy.com/RBMM. First page, lots of info, lots of like vibey, what do you want desires? My dogs are barking in the other room. They had to opt in to start the application. So if you click the button on that page, it's an opt-in form of your name, your email, your Instagram handle, and then they got taken to the full info page with the price and the application. That felt safer to me because I was like, I don't want just a bunch of people. Like, you have to give me some information before I give you some information. That felt really good for me, my energy versus all like hundreds of people just going to the page to look at the page because they like wanted to know. I was like, you have to give me some information before you get all the information. But if you want to rip the band-aid off, if that direction, like I've always done, like you can choose to just do something like this, what I just said, or just rip the band-aid off. But it sounds like what you ultimately want is to not do sales calls. So those are two ways to not do sales calls and still have a little bit more, keep your prices a little bit more intimate if you want to go that route. But otherwise, you're a coach. Do the nervous system work on yourself and really affirm into I'm stepping into the next level of my business by doing this process, by sharing my price publicly. I'm going to get better clients. I'm going to better able to serve people. They know the price coming in. I get to create more trust and intimacy before us by them having the full picture. What are the things that you need to affirm in your being in order to feel safe in the process? Of course, you're still going to feel all the feelings, but you can actually make that process a little bit more smooth. Okay, now going to the chat. So let's see. Oh, we don't have that many. Good. Okay. So we're doing good on time. Great. I haven't drank any of my yerba mate. Oh, quick follow-up. Any different advice if my audience is super small? Different advice on the in general? Just different advice on the tell me more. Hard to type. Sorry, you're like probably on a phone. So switching from word of mouth to if your audience is really small, okay. When I recognize now that all the things that you said, the podcast, the YouTube channel, the insight timer, those are long-term strategies, and that's a good thing. Okay. They're not going to give you immediate results, or they're most likely not going to give you immediate results. You're not going to put up your first YouTube video when you have 0 subscribers and get a client from it. It might take 6 months to build up momentum and build up. You want to be doing exactly what you're doing now in conjunction with the long-term plan. So the word of mouth coaching business, keep it all the same, except get rid of the sales calls. Keep doing what you're doing for the word of mouth while also building the YouTube, the podcast, the insight timer. In 6 to 12 months, even probably as soon as 3 months, but you're going to really start feeling it 6 to 12 months from now. That's going to build up enough momentum and you're going to have that value bank built up for people to experience your work that, yeah, okay, not many people see my website anyways. Yeah. Yeah. So if either of what I said resonates with you, go that way. Yeah, got it. Okay, cool. On to Karina's question. I've been in my work of relationships, energetics, and spirituality for so long that I feel like I've lost connection with what people think they want, even though it's often not what really helps them. How can I reconnect/research with what folks think they want, their 3 a.m. wish, if you will, in self-development? I would just start asking people. If you've been in this for so long, I'm assuming you have an audience of some sort. Send out an email to your email list, like one line. Like, I'm doing some market research. Like, I would love to know and give a really simple question to answer. Do a poll on your Instagram. What are ways that you can actually give people other ways? Again, if you have an audience, that's a really easy thing to solve because you just pull people and you just ask because you have a big group of people who can answer those questions for you. If you have a smaller audience or you don't have that, then again, directly reaching out to people. Also, Reddit. I just started getting into Reddit. I've never been into Reddit. I'm obsessed with Reddit right now. You can do so much market research on Reddit. So I would find the right little feeds or channels or whatever they're called. And oh, you're welcome. There's probably a few of them. And it's hard to search the right names for channels, but if going to, can you find ones with spirituality, energetics, relationships, and see what people are talking about? I think that's a really great way. Also, can you reach out to 5 people who are either past clients or people who you think would be great clients and say, what did I used to do? I reach out to people saying, I'm doing some market research for a new program and I would really love your insight. If you are willing to talk with me for 15 minutes or 20 minutes for me to ask you some questions, I'll give you 15 or 20 minutes or the same amount of time as a free coaching call or a free strategy session. That's worked really well for me. That's totally worth putting the time. And I fully understand the resistance to doing that. It's super time consuming and you have to like pitch people so I can get on a call with you, but it's absolutely worth the time. Okay, Michelle, I'm in the final week of enrollment, exciting, of my group program, the second round of my group program. I've had 6 signups so far with a goal of 20. Given the lower than expected numbers, what are the most strategic high leverage actions I can take this final week to increase enrollments? And if it ends up being a smaller group, what would you recommend to make the most of that experience, both for the participants and for the business? Any creative or strategic ideas for turning a smaller cohort into a powerful container for participants and making it beneficial to the business as well? Okay, first of all, I sometimes get 80% of signups in the last 48 hours. Like I was just we were just pulling some data for my last few launches and like minute, always 50% or more, if not 80% or more signing up in the last 48 hours. You have an entire week. You're fine. Usually people need like some sort of incentive to get off the fence. Make sure don't let lower earlier enrollments. Like the worst thing you could do is quit on the launch right now. I don't think that's what you're saying you're doing, but like still move forward with the launch as planned. Email every single day, post every single day. If you didn't do some sort of free event or freebie that you're giving away related to the launch, you have a week. Plan something, do something. But recognize you could still have 20. So many people can join in the last, like other things that are useful to kind of calm your brain around that is look at your sales page numbers. How many people have looked at your sales page in the last week or since the beginning of the launch? And sometimes it can feel like crickets, but it's just because people are thinking about it. There could be hundreds of people looking at your page thinking about it. And if you like see that number, you can be like, oh, wow, there's hundreds of people or dozens of people thinking about it right now. So how do I stay in front of them? How do I give them the information that they need? And also with this, because with small group programs, like I've said a few times in here, how can you be more human in this launch? Can you directly reach out to people, not to pitch them, but just be like, hey, I saw you signed up for X, Y, and Z. Did you have any questions about this program? Hey, I saw that you're interested in this. Did you have any questions for me? Go be a human and talk to people. Okay. And second question, if it ends up being a smaller group, what would you recommend to make the most of that experience? They're going to be stoked. They get more of your energy. I'm assuming you're doing live calls of some sort and you might have a live group as a part of it. They're going to get more of your energy and it gets to be a more intimate experience. If you shift your energy into that of, wow, they're going to get so much out of this with it being a smaller group. It's actually better for them. They're going to fucking love it being a small group. So that's how I like shift your energy there. And you can even speak to that of on the first call. Like, honestly, I thought I was going to get 20 people in here, but the fact that there's 10 right now, you guys are so fucking lucky. You're going to be able to go so deep in here. That's what I would do. Speak to it and shift your energy into that. But in terms of you feeling good about it being a smaller cohort, because like obviously it means you had less money coming in. You can think about, do you want to still close enrollment as expected, but do you want to have a pop-up open the following week because people were still DMing you about it and beneficial to the business as well? Okay, if this is where it'll really depend on where you're at in business. If you're further along in business where you have other stuff going on, so it's not, oh my gosh, this launch failed and now I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. If you're past that phase in business and it's like you're in this like overflow space where you're like sales are good, stuff are good, then you just coach your ass off for the small group and get amazing testimonials. do the extra human approach, have this be like, okay, this is going to be, people are going to epic results. I'm going to create new things to help them get faster results. I'm going to, at the end, do my due diligence to survey people, get testimonials, invite people to get video testimonials, so that this is more than just the revenue coming in. We're actually stacking up the value of this program within your business, because social proof makes all the difference. It makes everything easier. So if we can think of, I'm going to give these people an amazing experience, which I know you're going to do that anyways, but how do I like bring all of my energy to this? And how do I like start systematizing and thinking about how can I get feedback, testimonials, get people amazing results through this? But if you're in the space where it's like, if the launch fails and you're like, fuck, how do I pay my rent? Or I really needed that money. Okay, you're going to have to pivot into having, okay, do we sell something on the back end of it? There's for launch strategies. Sorry, I'm like, I'm excited. After, I'm going to calm down. When a launch is over, or even when you're planning a launch, you can think about what you're selling directly after the launch, because there is opportunity directly after a launch is over. Sometimes people think, I just launched, I cannot, I have to be radio silent. I cannot talk about selling anything for weeks because I need to nurture them because I just sold for them. Oh no. You can actually plan into the strategy. The week after the launch, I'm going to promote this other thing. Either something that is higher ticket, so one-to-one coaching spots, something lower ticket, something more for advanced people, or something more for beginner people, or something else, with the thought process of, I keep on touching myself right here. It's so funny. With the thought process of, okay, they didn't join this group program. It's not because they don't want to work with me. It just means that this one container wasn't the right fit for them. So what would be a better fit for all of these other people? Is it because they wanted only to work privately with me? Is it because they actually wanted a lower ticket offering? So I'm going to do a self-study version of this at a lower ticket after this. Is it because there's a bunch of beginners that weren't ready for that level? So what's a beginner thing I can sell them? And this is a downsell, essentially. If they say no to this thing, the downsell is this stuff thing over there. So lots of ideas for you. Okay. Yeah, you can still have 20, Michelle. Keep going. Do not lose momentum. You can, like, I'm someone where so we're in the middle of the regenerative business ecosystem launch, and we're 6 days in, we have 5 more days to go. And I'm someone who I'm like slow. I'm slow getting into launches. Like, I'm just starting to build up momentum now. I'm like, okay, now I'm like fully in the energy of this launch, and I'm like ready to like not go hard. That's gross to say, but I'm like finally in the energy of this launch, and I'm like really ready to like ramp up the gas and talk to more people and do more things and like have more to say. And so absolutely, like we're in this exact same spot where you actually get to ramp things up from now. Again, not to say you're going to be hustling in any way, but like, how do I keep putting my energy into this? Knowing that there are people that are just on the fence. And as soon as that deadline comes, people will get off the fence. So I don't want to ghost them now. I'm going to still show up and give them all the information that they need. Okay, Aline. What are your experiences if there is not only one person, not only one business owner, but a collective of coaches and healing artists that launched a community? So we don't want them to connect to one person, but either to our field/frequency. I feel like it's like what you said about having intangible things that resonated with me. So how to build trust with us? What is a good way? Because we don't film our calls, live events, because they're really safe, vulnerable rooms that people are in their process and share very personal stuff. I would make sure all of the people are in your marketing in some way. So if you guys have a podcast, make sure like at least once every single person has been on the podcast. It could be solo episodes, it could be all of them coming together. Or if you're doing Instagram lives, or if you're doing Instagram reels, maybe there's one front runner, like the person who's natural in the marketing and they have the energy for the marketing and they're the main face of everything because that's just how they're spending their energy. But you need to intentionally bring in information about the entire team forward. So, for example, something I did for when I launched my mastermind at the end of last year, I had someone that I work with who does energy work on me consistently. I hired her to come into the container and do group energy work every single month. And so during the launch of that mastermind, I did a collaborative Instagram live with her and it was like, we did an abundance activation and it talked about the energy of the program. That was a way for me to put her in front of my people. It's still my program, which I know is like a little different than what you're saying, but I wanted to bring her energy and put her in front of my people. And I like was able to post it onto my podcast and repurpose it for other places. You don't have to share, film your live calls, but is there a way that they can put out a video of some sort, especially if there's live calls, having a video element where people can actually hear their voice and feel their energy? That's what I would do. And so there's a bajillion different ways that you can do that. You're welcome. Okay. And feel free to ask a follow-up question if you need more with that. Sharon. Okay. Let me drink some more of this. What's your input on where/how to start marketing for business and making offers as a wellness coach for someone new with low to zero social capital? A lot of businesses say to start with friends, family, but I find that those people are less supportive of the business. I get consistent posts on social media and IRL networking, but from my experience so far, these avenues have been challenging to building trust. Okay, I don't know if you were on earlier on in this call, but I talked a lot about I talked directly to this a few different times. But for this specifically, and just like sharing my own story around it, is I also like I felt really uncomfortable with the big thing I had to get over is like, what are my when I first started being more present in the online space, it was like, what are my college peers gonna think? Because like I have a bachelor's in physics. I did a really weird strong turn off of what my career is now versus what I went to university for. It's like a big thing I had to work through earlier on is what are my college peers gonna think? So I started never posted on my Facebook page, had a brand new Instagram account, started completely from scratch, and I did not want anyone who knew me to know what I was doing. And that was fine. I know that a lot of people will block their family members because they're like, knowing that you're looking at my stuff really fucks with my brain. And I could either do the mindset work or I could just block you and it's easier for me. And they just block their family. So you're welcome to do that. And I totally understand that. When you have zero social capital, the visibility channel of other people's people is the fastest way to start growing an audience of some sort and getting your work in front of other people. Other people's people can include being published on an online magazine or an actual industry, if you're in a certain industry, in an industry magazine, presenting in someone's membership, presenting in someone's mastermind, being featured on someone's podcast, cold pitching people. Like I said, I did trainings at my local chamber of commerce. And that's an interesting story because I pretty much I've worked with like maybe one Maui business. I live on Maui. And I found that me going and giving trainings at my local chamber of commerce, it was more of an energetic push than anything. Because I was like, I'm not trying to get Maui businesses. I still want to be in the online space. But the act of putting myself out there in some way would trigger things over here happening. So for anyone who is on that same wavelength and can understand that when you start doing stuff, you will start putting yourself out there in certain ways. You'll find that things over here, even though it doesn't seem directly related, will start opening up for you. And yeah, that's what I recommend is like really leaning into other people's people and you can get creative with that. And yeah, it takes some work, but you're starting at ground zero. So it just takes some work to when you're just getting started. Bianca, putting this over here. Boom. Okay. Bianca, I sent this in the forum a minute before the call started. Yeah, so I didn't see it because I offer one-to-one travel and money coaching combined with a private community for remote workers who want to use slow travel to reach financial freedom and early retirement. Okay, I remember your sales page that we looked at in the last RVE call. My clients are all over the map. Some have debt, others have cash, but don't know how to invest. Some are new to travel, others are seasoned nomads. I've been struggling to create one all-encompassing course that meets everyone where they are, has one clear transformation. So I'm thinking of building focused mini courses, house sitting, points and miles, sustainable travel, healthcare abroad, etc., inside the existing community. I know that's what you've done with RBE, but you're also well established and had all of these wonderful proven courses. Do you think that's a smart move for me this early on, or is there a better way? P.S. I'm so glad I joined Regenerative Business Ecosystem. Love being here with all of you. We're so happy you're here too, Bianca. Okay, so I could argue for or against this. Okay, so if you're excited about that idea and it feels like an easy thing, I want to tell you my plan going forward with regenerative business ecosystem, like ways that I'm thinking about it that could apply to you. So I have like within RBE, there is like copywriting alchemy and peak visibility and mini offer madness and drill where they are. Like all of my courses are inside the thing. I'd already created them and now they're inside of this membership. I'm still planning on launching all of these individual courses going forward. So with not the add-on, but people can either buy the course, so they can buy peak visibility for $1,000, or they can come into the membership for 150 a month right now, or 199 a month in the future. So in my mind, I'm like, me launching the courses. So you could do individual launches for these mini courses and you could do, okay, I'm now doing my house sitting course. You could either come into the house sitting course and buy it as a one-off offer, or you can join the membership where you get that and everything else in there. So in my mind, it's making it so that I'm making the membership this no-brainer place. Of course you should come in. Everything is in there, but I'm still going to continue my marketing as planned of launching the individual courses because I've found, as I've said before, like it's often easier to launch something or promote something when it's on a specific topic. It's just easier for people to their mind to get around. So I'm going to keep doing those like specific topics, but then also present them at the exact same time. Yeah, you could buy this, but why wouldn't you come in here where it like ends up actually being cheaper and also you get all of these other things. So I could see that also applying to what you're doing where you don't have them already created. So you'll have to launch them and create them, or create them and then launch them, whichever order you want to do. They'll live inside of your membership as well. But why wouldn't they just join your membership? So it could actually be a way for you to grow your membership over time. I don't know if you're here right now, Bianca, but feel free to say if that answers your question or not. If you didn't want to do it that way, I mean, I think that's going to be the easiest. I think that's going to be the easiest thing that you do, unless you wanted to keep them separate of your membership. But then just realize that you're going to have the membership, and then all of your members will have to also buy these other things. Which I know plenty of people who would do it that way. I just know for me personally, it's like I find it easier to just be like, members get everything, and then you just keep giving them stuff. It just feels really generous to me. But yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop that point. Okay, we're getting to our last two questions that have been sent in. Okay, so we have Nicole, or no, Cora. This is a follow-up on your response for choosing platforms for email. How do you use Kajabi versus ConvertKit? Okay, here's my very not strategic answer. The answer is I had ConvertKit before I had Kajabi. And so everything, like most of my automations and everything they're set up in ConvertKit. And I like the user experience of ConvertKit. Years later, I got Kajabi, and I haven't fully transitioned everything over from ConvertKit to Kajabi. And I have enough cash flow in my business where it doesn't matter if I have both. So if I was trying to be like, I only want to have one platform, I could easily just start using emails through Kajabi and just transition everything over to ConvertKit. But I'm being lazy. But how I'm using it right now is if you've bought from me and I'm communicating with you about a program, I will send them through Kajabi. And then most of my marketing stuff comes from ConvertKit. And that's also nice because like sometimes people will unsubscribe from your email list, but then they don't realize that they're also unsubscribing from any information about this thing that they bought. So it's actually served a purpose where they might unsubscribe from marketing emails over here, but they're still able to get emails from Kajabi that are talking about the course or the program that they purchased. Okay. And final question that I see as sent in is from M. I'd love to do what you were suggesting about giving your audience what they want, and be a servant. What somatic products could I make? I need way more information about your business to be able to brainstorm topics. But okay, I would need to know about your people and your products. But what I would be thinking about is, what are my people Googling? Or what could they be Googling? What are they asking me about? Because again, we're trying to think of, what do my people consciously want? What are they consciously searching for? And the easiest way is like, what are they Googling? And so what often happens as an expert is we know so much and we know exactly what they need. And if they just do this thing over here, then all of their problems will be solved. They don't always know this. So a lot of experts will try and sell this over here, what they need, when they are asking a different question. Okay, let's see if I can think of a really general example where if I am okay, here's an example from my own life. So I used to have really bad chronic anxiety, and through various things, I no longer have chronic anxiety. And one of the key pieces of it was fine eating consistently having fiber in my diet. So Luis Mojica, great program on nutrition and somatic practices around trauma healing, and he does a lot on this. I would not be like searching for, I need nutritional help to solve my anxiety. I was just searching, I have chronic anxiety. What do I do? So we're like that my consciousness level is over here. I don't know anything about the solution. So how can I create? I don't know if you can hear my Australian Shepherd over here making really weird noises. She's locked inside with me and not happy about it. So, what are they consciously searching for to solve a problem? What is the problem they're consciously searching for in their own language? That's what I would make topics around, and I would make stuff around freebies or mini offers on in this realm using these words, which can bridge them and have them have the perspective shifts to understand the solution and what they actually need. Yeah, what I think that's the easiest way is think about what are they Googling. If you were their client, if you were your client, what's your client like actually typing into Google right now? Okay, so I think those were all the questions that came in, and we had a strong presence today. Yeah, she's like literally just like staring at me, making weird noises, waiting for me to open the door. Any other questions that are coming in? Okay, Stephanie. Okay, cool. Brittany, would you mind reading it again? I don't see it. I'm sure it's there. I just didn't see it. Okay. And while you type that, Stephanie, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm just going to let this dog out. Okay. Stephanie says, I ran my first ad. Woohoo! It performed decently, 3,800 views, but a lot scrolled by. 3-second watch time from 1,600 of them. I got 260 website visits, $41 spend, 16 cents per click. What's the move from there? Another ad, maybe a dedicated one. Okay. Since I know you're here, Stephanie, what was the purpose of the ad? Was it to buy something? Was it to opt into something? Did you set it up it was a mini offer. So you set it up as a purchase ad, like a purchase conversion ad? Yes. Okay. So I'm guessing you didn't say that there were any buyers because there were no buyers. So one thing that I self-liquidated, yes, okay, perfect. When I'm setting up a purchase ad for a mini offer, general recommendation is you spend as much as the mini offer costs per day. So if I'm selling a $25 ebook, I'm spending $25 per day. And then I will look at it for the first 3 days. If there's no sales, I'm turning it off and I'm assessing what happened. So you spent $41. So I'm not 100%. Like I would love to get up to 1,000 website visits to have better numbers. 6 days, 41. Okay, so you spent how much per day? You spent $7 a day, roughly. Okay, I would 3,800 views, a lot scrolled by, 260 website visits. You had a really low click cost, which is a good thing. So 16 cents per click. Cost per click, you want it under $1, and you were like under $1. You're at 16 cents. So usually that points to the creative being, but how much is your mini offer? Your self-liquidating offer, Stephanie? $25. Okay. I'm like, are you willing to spend $100 to I would try and spend $100, yeah, to assess data from there. Can you spend $25 a day or $20 a day for 5 days or $25 a day for 4 days to get more? Okay, so what I would look at is there weren't that many people actually watching the video, with 3-second watch time being the majority. That makes me think, okay, for a cold audience, do I need to be more like intentional about the first 3 seconds? When you hear like the growth hack people that are like the 3 seconds, they matter so much. Okay, for a cold ad, I might need to be a little bit more intentional about the first 3 seconds. But a lot of people are clicking. You had 260 visits. So 260 divided by, okay, I want to see the click-through rate. So 260 divided by 3,800, you had a 6.8% click-through rate. Okay, that's actually excellent. If I have my numbers right, you had a 6.8% click-through rate, which anything over 2% is excellent. So you have a 7% click-through rate, which what I see with that is the creative was really engaging. I would want to, my next step with that is okay, 260 people. If we were trying to get like with cold traffic, if I'm, we want 1% conversion rate of people viewing the page, and we had 260 people times 0.01. So if you had a 1% conversion rate on the sales page, you would have 2.6 buyers. So 2 buyers. So my guess from your limited data is probably need to change the sales page in some way. So how do we update the sales page? And if you have the data from your landing page host, oh, you had one sale. Yay! Okay, one is better than zero. Okay, so one divided by 260, you had a 0.4% conversion rate. Again, from the limited data. So I think if we kept spending, we would have a better number, but I think that it's probably your sales page. So I would think about, can you see the average amount of time someone is spending on your page? Some page hosts tell you this. Some page hosts will you can put a code for Hotjar. I know there's a free version. Hotjar is free for a certain amount of views. Hotjar. I'm sure there are better versions of this. This is just the one I know. I just haven't done much. Yeah, if you add Hotjar to the page, you can see how far people are scrolling on the page before they leave. Okay, do I need to change the hero section? Are they actually reading through the entire page? What percentage of people are reading through the entire page? What's the average amount of time people? Because sometimes you'll see like the average is 3 seconds on the page. And you're like, shit, this is bad from the beginning. But if you have a minute average time spent on the page, it's okay, people are actually reading and then they're stopping. So we start being a little detective. Okay, great. So stoked on your one sale. It seems as though your actual ad creative is doing really well just from the click-through rate and the cost per click. I think the biggest opportunity is updating the sales page. Well, everyone loves Hot Jar. I don't know if there is anything better, Maisie. I'm just like, this is just the one I know. I've not done deep research into like Hot Jar and alternatives. So yeah, Stephanie, if you want to, feel free to ask any follow-up questions on how to think about what to change on the sales page. Okay. Brittany asks, okay, and this is going to be our last question, I think, because I'm supposed to get off for another. Okay. Stephanie says this is a very popular boosted reel, 375,000 views. Amazing, because that's like such social proof that so many people have seen it. I think I'll do it. Yeah, great. Very popular. One other, okay, again, fix the sales page. Another thing, if you want to, then you're going to want to restart it. I would use the exact same creative. It's working. We just need more people converting on the actual sales page. Another opportunity after you start getting that going is I would also duplicate the sales page and only make changes to the new version of the sales page so you have completely fresh metrics. You don't have to do that. That's just like my ideal. You can then run a retargeting ad and only show it, like spend like $3 a day just for people, and you can set the audience to anyone who's seen the sales page in the last 30 days, and it's just like reminds them. It would have to be a different ad where you're coming at a different angle, and we'd be thinking about, okay, they saw the original reel, they saw my sales page. I probably should show them some testimonials or address an objection, or like, what are they thinking about? Where that's like the consciousness that you want to be at when you're making the creative for that retargeting ad, which is totally optional. It just fills up the holes in the bucket where some people see a page and then they're at a stoplight and they're like, wait, I have to start driving again. And that's why they clicked away. Okay. Last question before we wrap up with Brittany's last question. Reminder that the regenerative business ecosystem is open right now. We do one of these Q&As every single month. And then we have a secondary live call every single month. And that rotates between copy coaching, where you literally can send in copy for me to review, and we get to watch me review different people's and dig into the actual your pages, and between somatic embodiment sessions where we like really expand your capacity to receive and be seen and all the things. You get access to all of my online courses, including the big ones like copywriting alchemy and peak visibility and evergreen ecosystem. And just, I think there's 10 different courses in there. There's an online community off of Meta. We use Kajabi community, and it's on a founder's rate right now. The full price is going to be $199 a month. Right now it is $150 a month. And then, so if you want to come in as a founder, you get that forever. For as long as you're in the membership, it's not just the first month, you get that forever as long as you're in the membership. And that price goes away and we close the doors next Monday. So in a few days. So that'll be at midnight Pacific time, Los Angeles time, on the 7th. So we would love to have you in there. Feel free to DM me any questions. I'm the one answering DMs on Instagram. We don't see the messages on Facebook. So if you Facebook message us, we probably won't see it. So DM me on Instagram at The Dirty Alchemy. Okay, on to Brittany's question. I just rebranded my tarot reading company that started 5 years ago to a creative collective for artists and creatives. That's so cool. Who make magic focus on exploring creativity and spirituality. I'm adamant about the actual community being free on Discord, but I rebranded to expand to include more offers than only tarot readings, more offers than only tarot readings, and to more passive income offerings. What do you recommend for balancing the free community with offers organically? There's two sides of this. Of one side of it, recognize, can you really get into the belief and the feeling that selling people into my paid offers is of service and not annoying? Because when I see that and you're like, you want this free community, so beautiful. That's so, it'll serve your business and serve so many people on a lot of levels. So you don't have to change that at all. And you can keep showing up for that. But it sounds like you need to get really comfortable with the idea of you selling your paid offers is of service to the community and is not annoying. You deciding from there, like, first, you really need to get your mind right with that. From there, if you have if you have things open all the time, Evergreen, it's nice to have some sort of limited time, like deadline for people to join for a certain reason. As we've discussed multiple times today, people need a reason to get off the fence. And it doesn't have to be sleazy or pushy or anything like that, just giving people opportunities to get off the fence. So that can look like once a month, you do a 3-day flash sale on one of your various offerings, or every 2 months, you put out a new thing. So you want to it sounds like you haven't created these other offers yet. So it could be as you create them, it's okay, we're going to do a live round. Or if you join the astrology for tarot readers course, I'm just putting it out now. If you come before August 3rd, if you sign up before August 3rd, then you get a discount. Or if you sign up before August 3rd, you get to join this one live call. So we're just thinking about ways to create reasons for people to join now. Again, I'm someone who, I love a sale. I know that some people hate discounting stuff and they never want to discount anything in their business at all. And you do not have to discount ever in your business. You'll see me do a lot of discounts often because I love a sale. I think they're fun. I think they're like, it makes it easy on my end. And so it's just like what kind of person you are in your relationship with. Would you rather just offer a live call, or would you like to offer a sale? Or so that's how I would do it, and just decide on your rhythm. This could either be, okay, once a month I do a 3-day flash sale, or every time I have a new product coming out, I'm going to do some sort of reason, whether it's a bonus or a live call or a discount for them to join for this new thing that's coming out. And honestly, just new things coming out, your people just want to join. And if you want, it sounds like you include more offers. So it sounds like you want to have a full product suite of a bunch of different things. So that could honestly just create your marketing calendar of, okay, if I want to have 6 new offers and I'm going to do one new offer every other month, it's okay. This month I'm going to flash sale something that already exists, or like tarot readings. And the next month it's going to be my astrology new thing. And then the next month it'll be back to my tarot readings. And then it's going to be this other new thing. And it doesn't have to be a 3-day flash sale. That's just like what I said multiple times. That's what I would do, and but first you need to get it, like, really settled into it is not annoying for me to share opportunities to go deeper with me to my free group. They're not gonna feel weird about it. They're gonna be stoked to go deeper with me, and you really need to get there. Otherwise, it'll be reflected back at you of like, "How dare you?" Okay. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie says, literally the best investment I will make all year. It's only July. The calls so far have been solid gold, easily saved me so much time and money. It pays for itself basically immediately. Oh, yeah. Everyone join Regenerative Business Ecosystem. I've made it a crazy low price because I want everyone in there. So thank you so much for everyone here. This is so fun. I haven't done a public one before. I've always done like within programs. So to be like, here, email list and Instagram, just come on in and be a part of this live Q&A. But I really love Q&As and I love answering questions. Thanks for being a part of that. And of course, if come join us in the regenerative business ecosystem if you want more of this. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on Instagram and in the email inbox. Bye everyone. Bye. Oh yeah. If anyone who's on wants to share key takeaways, feel free to share your key takeaways. That's what I usually do at the end of calls. Key takeaway is big takeaway from this call is both tactical and high level. Specific advice on optimizing my latest IG ad plus thought process as she got to those points. So good. Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, thanks, Kirley. Okay, there's still a few of you on. I want everyone put it your key takeaway. The reason why I love to ask for key takeaways is because it's a way for our own brains to actually remember what's important. Because when we can immediately recall something, it saves it better in our brains, and it also helps everyone else in the room. Basically, your special interpretation of what you received today will help other people. Lauren says actually use analytics. Yes. Come on, there's still like 12 of you here. Nova says I'm not cooler than daily mindset. Yeah, you're not too cool. You're not too cool for daily mindset. Oh, I have to tell myself that every day. Meg says, jumped on super late. Loved hearing you deep dive into analytics. It's not as scary as I thought. Yeah, one thing I like to think about is analytics and metrics is this is my way of like neutrally seeing people's decisions. So it's okay, for Stephanie's example, with good analytics are like good numbers for the creative on the ad. So okay, people said yes to that ad, but like they weren't saying yes to the sales page. So it's okay. We respond to that with the copywriting on that page. One more. Give me one more. Sam's walkthrough of the what are they Googling thought process is the holy grail of ideal gen. Copy prompts, freebie bank. Yeah. I think you're really good at that, Stephanie. You already do that. Okay. Thank you all. So good to see you. I'll see my ecosystem folks. We have our next live Q&A on Wednesday. So I'll see you guys all. Make sure you put your questions in the form that's in Kajabi and see you guys on the internet. Bye, everyone.